Happy Tuesday! What do I yell every Tuesday? The same thing. This week, we had a little late start. It's 7:05, some technical difficulties, but as they say, eso es lo que pasa when you're live. So we're live. We had some issues, but we are here. Thank you for whoever is watching and joining us today. I love you guys, and I love my Tuesdays because I'm always able to spend them with you. The last time we were here, we were speaking to an amazing young lady who just so happens to be my little cousin. And we spoke about love and love after domestic violence. So today I have another amazing woman with me tonight who is going to have such a great, great conversation with me. So I asked folks yesterday to send me an email. If you have my number, send me a text message, inbox me, whatever the case may be, so that tonight I can be joined on screen with people, because tonight's rendition of the show is Express Yourself, which usually means the audience is who guides the show. So tonight, I don't know what we're talking about because I am not guiding the show. This brave soul texted me and said, I want to be a part of tonight's show. I want to talk about my past and different things. So I am going to bring this amazing woman on. But before I do so, I want to remind folks, as I do every week, we are here for a purpose. If you or someone you know or you love is dealing with any form of domestic violence, have them reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. You can reach us at all of our social media platforms, as well as on the web at loveshouldnothurt.com. So I'm going to bring this amazing woman on the screen. She also happens to be part of a duo, A Happy Marriage. The Romans, you would know them. If you don't, look for them. They are one of our sponsors for this year's gala, and they run the Co-Author Network. They were the individuals who gave me the opportunity to be a part of my first book. So I'm super duper excited for her to be here tonight because she is an amazing soul who has a story to tell. So I'm going to let her tell us what the story is going to be about tonight because I have no idea. Daniela Roman, welcome to our show today.
Hey, hello, Christina.
Hi, hon. How are you?
Well, wait a minute. Can you see me here? I'm trying to adjust this
I see you.
perfectly.
You look at, listen, all the technical difficulties, you're looking great. Better than me tonight because
Oh,
got
no.
lighting mishaps. I got internet mishaps, but we're here.
Yeah, believe
So
me, we know we go through the same thing, but you did it. You're good.
I'm here. So we do this show monthly, and we do it
Hmm.
because lots of times we have audience members who will write me after and say, oh my God, I saw your show. I wanted to say this about it. Or, oh my God, I saw your show and here's a good topic. Or, you know what? I really want to come on and this is what I want to talk about. So
Right.
we do this once a month so that audience members can come on and kind of just feel what they want to feel, say what they want to say, and kind of twist it up a little bit. So I don't know what we're
Hmm.
going to talk about tonight. You kind of sent me a quick text, but what is it that you want to share with us tonight? Before you do that, though, tell us a little bit about who Daniela Roman is.
All right. Well, first of all, Christina, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I
You're
appreciate you.
welcome.
And I love what you're doing, your mission. I mean, it's, me and Amelia say all the time, it's in line with, what we do. When you're passionate about something, you have to be around like-minded people, right? So this is why we support you, your gala. We're so excited to be attending that in October. So thank you.
Welcome.
So I mean, who am I now?
Yeah.
Now I am,
Because I'm sure we're going to hear about who you were, but let's hear about who
yeah,
you are now.
yeah. Well, I am a proud mother and wife and grandmother to baby Tomas, and anyone who follows us sees that little guy. And I actually have Tisa on here, who is my daughter-in-law's mom. She's Tomas's other grandmom, so I want to say hi to
Oh,
Tisa.
hi, Tisa.
Um, so yeah, so Amelia and I, we have the Co-author Network, and like the shirt says, we help. I'm looking in the thing, and I'm seeing the opposite. We help people share their story with the world. So we started
Mhm.
doing that a couple years ago. As you know, Christina, you have chapter one in Spiritual Fitness Survivor. It's the second edition, yeah, where you shared your story, and that we just love highlighting people and getting people out there to share their story, whether it is of domestic violence, whether it is
Mhm.
whatever they survived. Like a spiritual
Right.
fitness survivor book is all about surviving anything. Could
Mhm.
be childhood traumas, um, sexual traumas. Even we've had financial disasters. I mean, you name it, whatever us as humans go through, right? So
Mhm.
that's what we started a couple years ago, and it has taken off like to a whole new level now. And we just completed our third edition of that book a couple
Mm-hmm.
months ago, and working on the fourth edition. And me personally, I am now working on um, let me see, Behind Closed Doors. I
Mm-hmm.
survived domestic violence and you can too. So I wanted to give, because in the Spiritual Fitness Survivor book, as you know, you shared your story.
Mm-hmm.
There's various stories, right? And
Mm-hmm.
some with domestic violence stories, but I wanted its own book, just
Mm-hmm.
focused on that, because there's just, unfortunately, too many of us who have stories like that. But I want it to be like, this is what I tell the women that have reached out to me to be in this book. It's not about so much dragging up the past or
Mm-hmm.
bad mouthing, our exes and
Right.
dragging people through the mud. It's about, okay, what you've been through, but how
Mm-hmm.
did you get out of it? How you overcame that and where you are now. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's the important message that I want this book to be. I don't want it to be a depressing book. I don't want it to be, like I said, just, trashing, someone, or it's to share what you went through. But, like you talked about last week, like a light bulb went off, right? And every
Mm-hmm.
one of us who got out of those kind of relationships, we reached the day where finally a light bulb went off
Mm-hmm.
and we made the change. And
Right.
that's what I want to share. And I want, with these women, each and every one that is involved in this book said the same thing. They're like, you know what? I'm ready to just speak about it. I'm ready to tell my story. I'm ready to help other women, especially young girls. Like
Right.
um, is that your niece?
My cousin.
Your cousin
Mm-hmm.
that was on last week. She was very young, you know,
Mm-hmm.
when she got started that relationship. And that's how
Mm-hmm.
it is that, like, unfortunately, they're younger and younger starting relationships today. And they don't have the mental capacity or the experience to know that that's not healthy.
Absolutely.
They see that as love, attention, or maybe their home life isn't that great. So this is an out for them where, they get that attention.
Right.
So that's what a lot of these women, they shared the same message. Like, they want to reach these young girls before they get into relationships like this,
Right.
to where maybe we didn't have that guidance. I wasn't that young. I wasn't 14, 15, but still, even at 18, I didn't have someone saying, "Hey, you know what? You need to get out of that. That's not healthy."
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So that's why I think the mission that you guys have is super important because not only did you give me the opportunity to be in the book, but I was amongst, as you said, different people. You allowed
Hmm.
people to kind of come in, and the story is not just about domestic violence. The book that you
Right.
guys have in the series that you have, it's a book of survival of all different things. So I know there was a woman in there who was survived cancer.
Hmm.
We all had different stories to tell about our means of survival.
Hmm.
Because it didn't take over us. It didn't, make us these people who kind of just close down to the world and that's it. We overcame it. We superseded our abuse and the sickness and different ailments that happened.
Hmm.
And I think that it's super important what you guys are doing, being able to
Hmm.
allow people the opportunity to share their stories, no matter what story it is.
Right.
I'm super excited for you for this book. And that's why I continue, last week and the week before promoting that book because the new
Yes.
book
Thank you.
obviously aligns with what it is that I do. You're
Hmm.
giving women and men the opportunity to say, listen, I was abused. This is what happened behind closed doors, but I came out on top. Now, this
Right.
book is only about domestic violence. So to me, that's super,
Hmm.
super awesome. And for anyone that's watching, if you are, interested in the opportunity of being a part of this book, you can
Hmm.
contact Daniela separately, her husband Emilio separately, so that you guys can also be able to shed some light and tell your stories. I know there's many of you. We're working on our second documentary, and I know there's so many people who say, "Oh, I want to tell my story." This is
Yeah.
another means to opening the door and telling your story. So
Right.
we will get back into your book. We're going to put the picture back up so people can contact you. So
Right.
again, I don't know what we're talking about. So what is it that you were passionate about? What is it that you wanted us to speak
Mhm.
about tonight?
Yeah. Well, it's like I touched on the reaching young girls. Reaching young girls like your cousin Angelica last week, and um, whatever her situation was, it seemed like she had a good family, a good father that was looking out for
Mm-hmm.
her, but for whatever reason, she stayed in that relationship for way too long.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it was low self-esteem, which is a big part, I think, of
Oh
why
yeah.
us as women, whether you're that age or even older, I was older.
Right.
I was, like I said, 18, 19, 20, and when your self-esteem is that, so low and you don't have the confidence and you just take that behavior as, oh gosh, he must really care about me. Look
Right.
how that's just, I remember thinking that. I'm like, God, look how crazy he gets. Like, he must really be crazy about me, to get
Yeah.
that upset. Or and of course they kind of manipulate you. Well, not kind of, they do manipulate you and into believing, you know, whatever they say, it'll never happen again. Or, I just love you so much. This is why I get like this. And
Mm-hmm.
as naive as I was, I came from a great family. It had nothing to do with my background. I had a
Mm-hmm.
great childhood, but I left home at 18,
Mm-hmm.
and because I was so sheltered, like I come from a strict Italian family, so my dad was like, I
Mm-hmm.
never dated, never was allowed out. It was like school and
Mm-hmm.
home. That was it.
Right.
So you can imagine at 18, a girl, going out on her own. I moved in with friends of mine. It was like letting an animal out of a cage, and
Yeah.
I was just like, and I just trusted everyone because I didn't know any better, I was
Yeah.
naive. So I was um, 17, just about to turn 18 when I had first met this person. I
Mm-hmm.
think he was 29,
Mm-hmm.
so big difference,
Yeah. Age gap.
But
Mm-hmm.
but to me, I was like, he was charming. He was Italian. I'm like, oh, my dad's gonna love him. He's Italian. And they did. They only met him once, and turned on the charm, whatever. But then I never brought him back because I stayed away. As you well know, you isolate yourself when you're in these situations.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I stayed away a lot. Like, I'm very close to my family,
Mm-hmm.
and but because of what I was dealing with, there would be months at a time I didn't go visit because whether
Mm-hmm.
it was I had marks, that I didn't want them to see, or just the whole stress of the situation, like I just didn't
Right.
go. So I think I mentioned in the comments this week on your show that my parents actually didn't really know what went on with the situation until I wrote my story a couple of years ago, and my
Right.
mom read it. And so this is what happens, like with, like I said, I was 17, 18, 19, but these younger girls, like, depending on their home life, whether
Right.
they have like a little too much freedom and they're out there and they don't have the guidance at home, whether there's, a father in the house, no father in the house, the mother's always working, whatever it is. So they're kind of left to themselves, right?
Yeah.
And so what I want to do is, whether it's speaking engagements, whether getting to high schools. Now, I'm not sure, like you, Christina, have you gone to schools and
Mm-hmm.
spoken about it? You have, right?
Yeah.
What
So
about your
we've been
mission?
able. So we speak to all different ages.
Hmm.
We've done middle schoolers, we've done high schoolers, we've done
Hmm.
different youth groups and things of that nature. It depends on the situation in the group. So when we go
Right,
into high school, we speak about domestic violence. But when we're in
right,
middle school, we don't really perceive it or kind of say it as domestic violence. What we've
right.
done is just talk about self worth, self respect,
Hmm.
bullying, and things like that. Because all of those things kind of for in middle school, it kind of encompasses all of that. Boys
Right.
will hit on a girl and she'll say, "Oh, he's just playing with me," or
Hmm.
young girls at a really really young age start to believe that they have no self-worth. They
Right.
don't like the way they look, especially during middle school time and elementary. You're starting to go
Yes.
through the phases of getting
Yeah.
pimples on your face and
Hmm.
puberty, and you know it's a really tough age for kids, and they start to
Yeah.
think of themselves as unbeautiful and not
Right.
worthy and things like that. So when we talk to kids who are at a younger age, we do speak to them about self-worth and what it is, respect is. I have a lot of discussions with my daughter surrounding like what's appropriate conversations, even with her friends.
Right.
When myself and my friend group are together with our kids, because all of our daughters are the same age, we're always constantly on them. Like, stop talking to each other like that. Stop
Yeah.
saying, and they're like, "Oh, that's just how we talk to each other." And we're like, "Yeah, but if someone's listening, they're perceiving it as, wow, these little girls have no respect for each other.
Right.
The way that they talk to one another is, oh, they really don't care." And we know that they don't mean it that way because they
Right.
all adore each other and they laugh with each other all day. But those are the misconceptions that we don't want them to continue to carry on. That it's okay
Exactly.
to talk like that because it's my friend. It's not okay because later
Hmm.
on down the road, those are the situations we get placed in as adults.
Yeah.
So we start to make excuses for, oh, it's okay that he talks to me that way. That's just how he talks to me. Or,
Yeah.
he's in a bad mood today. And that's where it starts. So we
Mhm.
do go out to the schools and we do talk to kids of all different age ranges so that they can learn
Mhm.
from the beginning and kind of like as they're starting to go through that puberty phase and adolescence and start to liking boys and girls and things like that, what you
Yeah.
should accept and what you should not accept. So that is something that we do.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and that's what, my mission is that that's how we can reach like a large group at, at once. So I'm really I have to kind of look into that, and maybe you can even help me with that as
Mhm.
far as reaching, and how to get in contact and set these kind of things up, because the couple women that are sharing their story in this book, Behind Closed Doors, that's what they want to do. Like that, they
Mhm.
all had the same thing. It's funny, they all said the same thing. I want to reach young women because, as older women, it's not like we don't know. It's either some women, if you have kids, or the financial piece, or you know what I mean,
Mhm.
like they depend on the husband or the boyfriend or whatever the
Right.
situation is.
Absolutely.
That's a huge part of why they don't leave.
Mhm.
When they're younger, it's not about that. It's just about their self esteem, like you said, and their self worth, and you know what, as you know, we teach people how to treat us. We
Mhm.
teach people how to treat us. So
Absolutely.
if we accept and we tolerate, our significant other calling us names or saying, speaking to us in a certain way, then that's how they're going to treat us.
Right.
So it's about teaching that at a younger age, because mentally they're not there at
Mhm.
12, 13, 14. They're just not. But by us sharing our experiences, and
Mhm.
just doing what you do when you go to speak, and try to help them, say, hey, that's not acceptable. Even
Mhm.
between friends, like you said, that's not
Yeah.
acceptable. Even though oh, we're just joking or whatever. But that goes in your subconscious. You know what I mean? That does
Mhm.
that stays there. And if we allow our girlfriends to do that, whatever, then you're going to allow anyone to do that.
Right. They always say
Mhm.
that, exactly what you said, that we teach people how to treat us by the things
Mhm.
that we accept,
Yep.
which was, I think, a learning experience for you as much as it was for me as well, right? Because when we're in these domestic violence relationships and we stay in them and we
Mhm.
allow them to do what they do, but we continue to stay there and take it. And that
Mhm.
abuser's mind is, I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do because she's not going anywhere. She's
Right.
not leaving. She's not putting her foot down. And
Mhm.
it's a shame, but that's part of the process of learning, as you get older. So, looking back at myself, you said that your abuse happened 18, 19 years old. I was, like I said to my cousin last week, I was her age. I was 21, about to be 22 when my abuse became. And you would think at 21, oh, okay, well, she's starting to get, as Hispanics would say, capacidad. She's already getting to a place where she knows where she is. Absolutely
Mhm.
not. I had
Yeah.
just got out of college. And even though I had a college degree, I had immediately moved into my own apartment. I had
Mhm.
immediately began to become an adult. I didn't have that capacidad because
Right.
I allowed this person to viciously treat me terribly.
Mhm.
And some of the similarities that I would see in kids, because you said, as adults, we stay with them for financial and different reasons. But if we look at kids who were being abused, like my cousin who was only 14, it's
Yeah.
also a matter of kind of the similarity there of, at least I have a boyfriend. At least I have someone in
Mhm.
my life. That's a mentality that kids have. I
Yeah.
was 21 and I stayed with this man. That was one of my reasons. Because
Yeah.
even though I could have been with anyone, or I was 21, I could have been living my life and
Yeah.
having fun and just dating and doing different things. In my mind, everyone around me in my circle was beginning to date more seriously. I'm
Mhm.
the baby from the group. So my friends were 25, 26. They're beginning to meet people that they're going to be committed to and think about getting married to. And I'm
Right.
21, like, I need a boyfriend. So then I
Mhm.
get a boyfriend and he treats me terribly, but I'm like, well, at least I have someone. I'm not the one in the group that's single or alone,
Mhm.
and then I tolerated it and I tolerated it for so long because I figured, well, there's someone there. And the shameful part about it, you watched last week's show, is that I didn't really stop changing my mindset. Anybody who's watching,
Mhm.
don't drop your jaw. I didn't even change that mindset till about 38, 39, and I'm only going to be 41,
Yeah, you
which
said that,
means
and
that
I was a little puzzled. I was like, "Wow, okay."
absolutely, because you know what? I honestly did not begin to see my true worth and what it is that I thought that I deserved until I started this mission. And
Wow.
people always say, did you get therapy? Did you? I haven't. I've had therapy on and off through the years,
Right.
but the most therapeutic thing that I can say that I've done was begin this organization. Because
Mm.
in the moment I began to foster positivity into other women, I started thinking, well, damn, I'm fostering a whole lot of uplifting through these women, but I'm not uplifting myself. And it allowed me to take a look at myself. And I'm like, wait a minute,
Mhm.
I need to sit back now and kind of think about this. How am I
Right.
preaching to the choir that you should be positive, you should love yourself, all of the above, but I can't stand the woman I see in the mirror? And
Wow.
that's how at 38 I started to learn these things, because
Mhm.
I started to believe I'm not who they have said that I am. I'm not this
Mhm.
ugly person. I don't have these terrible teeth. I'm not fat. I'm not gross. And these were all the things that were fostered and embedded in my brain for years. So in that time, I allowed myself to deal and tolerate whatever was coming my way. And I dealt with any man that treated me like trash because I didn't believe I deserved anything better.
Right.
And I know that you feel me on that because
Oh yeah.
you dealt with the same thing. When you deal with a manipulator, a narcissist, all of the above, they know how to allow you to think those things. They play
Oh
on
yeah.
those things that you don't like about yourself. So I hated my teeth. I couldn't stand my smile. So
Yeah.
he banked on that. Whenever he would argue with me, get your teeth fixed. You're disgusting.
Oh.
I looked in the mirror and I wore something. I'm like, oh my God, I hate my stomach. Yeah, you're fat. You're lucky that I'm with you. If you weren't with me, nobody else would be with you.
Mm.
So that's what stayed in my mind. So then as I got
Right.
older and I left that relationship, it was like a trickling effect. Every man I dated after that treated me terrible.
Wow.
And I stayed and I allowed it. And it wasn't until recently that I finally said, what the hell, Christina? You
Mhm.
cannot stop your past until you stop your past. Like,
Mhm.
leave it where it is and keep moving forward. And that's, I'm telling you, every time I think about this organization, everyone that knows me knows that I started it because a friend, was
Yeah.
killed by her husband. But,
Yeah.
I was a victim of domestic violence myself, but had her death not happened, and I don't see it in any positive light. But because of her death, I was able to finally say, this is not going to happen anymore. Like, I
Mhm.
need to be able to be some comfort or something for someone, even if it's one person, because we can't keep having women die at the hands of domestic violence,
Yep.
and it still continues to happen. And, people say all the time, you're just one woman. How can you make a difference?
Hmm.
But they have no idea how much of a difference we have made in
Oh
almost
yeah.
3 years.
You
How
have.
many positive, positive relationships we've built, how many women we've been able to relocate and do different things. And, again, it has been my therapy because
Right.
seeing that these women can get out and seeing that these women can change their lives began to allow me to see, damn, Christina, you can do the same thing. And it's been
Mhm.
so influential for me because I haven't been able to finally let it out. And now I can
Right.
tell my story. And I cry sometimes because I'm a crybaby.
Yeah. Me too.
But I'm able to tell my story and be able to say that it doesn't identify me. It's not who I am. I'm not that
Right.
victim anymore.
That's right. Yeah. Our past does not. That's not who we are. That doesn't. That's not our identity. And it's funny you said until you were 38 years old. Like you're giving all this advice. You have this organization. You're helping other women, but yet you are still struggling.
I was.
And
I'm going to be 41.
yeah, no, but it's the truth because I say most of my life since I'm young, I tell Amelia this, and my mom always says to me, she goes, you know what, you should have been a psychologist or something, but I don't think I want to do the schooling. But anyway, so because ever since I'm young, people will come to me like as a young kid, like 12, 13, 14, because I just listen. I'm a good listener and I'm good at giving advice, like, what I think. Well, you know what, I think this would work for you. I think, but ourselves, I can help myself.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
We're our biggest enemies. And
Yeah,
well, see,
exactly.
I'm a counselor by nature.
Mhm.
My degree is in counseling.
Mm.
So I think that's why I've always been able to just give people the best that I can of myself.
Mhm.
I just had a problem giving it to myself.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're still struggling, and it's funny you said because I guess I really had if I think and I'm honest with myself, it was only in recent years that I really you know know my self worth myself. Like I
Mhm.
after that relationship and everything. Then I don't know if you know this or not, but I was in a relationship for 22 years. That was a healthy relationship, but that only ended because I just I wasn't fulfilled for myself in what I was doing in my life, and
Mhm.
I just didn't feel compatible with this person. Who's a
Mhm.
wonderful person, helped me raise my son. I mean, could never say a negative thing about him, and he's still in my son's life. But we get to a point in our life where it's like, okay, my son was grown, he was gone, he was living his life, and I'm like, now what? You know what I mean? And I just wasn't fulfilled, so I moved on, and I guess I stayed a little too long. Only because, like I said, I didn't believe in myself. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. I didn't know my purpose, right?
Right.
So when I lost my best friend in 2000, my goodness, this will be 5 years. I think it was 2016. That woke me up. Like it always takes sometimes a tragedy, you know what I
Yeah,
mean, to just be like,
unfortunately.
yeah, unfortunately it does, right? So,
Hmm.
and I was like, wow, she's 41 years old. She had two beautiful kids. Took her years to find the love of her life because she had a lot of challenges and horrible things happened to her. And
Hmm.
then she dies. She had lupus, and
Yeah.
I watched her die, and I'm like, okay, I will not live another minute unhappy, right? So I
Hmm.
just, unfortunately, like I said, I didn't want to hurt this person because he's a wonderful person, but I had to just live my life and be happy and do what was best for me. So I moved on, and as most of you know, here comes Mr. Emilio Roman after 28 years, and I'm like, we went to high school together. I think I told you, and
Hmm.
but everything happens for a reason, right? That could have not
Hmm.
been the worst time to start another relationship. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm just figuring out what I want to do with myself, and coming out of a 22-year relationship.
Hmm.
But, I don't believe in coincidence. I don't believe in, accidents. I believe everything happens for a reason, you know,
Absolutely.
at the right moment. And for whatever reason, God thought it was the right time to put this guy back in my life after
Hmm.
28 years, who I actually had a crush on all 4 years in high
Woo!
school.
See that?
But he
You
never
gotta
knew it.
crush people, keep up with it. You might end up married to them.
Yeah, right. And when I told him this, he's like, "Oh, why don't you tell me? We could have had five grandbabies by now." I'm like, "Okay, Amelia, whatever." Come on, he's Puerto Rican, Christina.
I
He's
know.
right though. It was funny though. That makes me laugh. I tell people they're like, "Oh my god." So, but I just went with it. You know what I mean? And I was always that type, worried about what my family thinks. Like the Puerto
Hmm.
Rican culture, Italian culture. It's like, oh,
Hmm.
what's my mom and dad gonna think? And I just got to have this marriage. And so I didn't tell them right away though, to be honest. Um, but then I'm like, you know what? Again, I have to live for me. I
Hmm.
cannot worry about what my mom thinks, my dad thinks, my son
Hmm.
thinks. And I just, I threw caution to the wind. I said, I'm just going to go with it. And I tell people all the time, Emil and I are very transparent. I think you know that.
Hmm.
And, we're not the perfect couple. We're not,
Mm.
there is no such thing as perfection in anything.
Right.
We have our challenges or whatever, but, at the end of the day, we have that love and respect for each other. I love him to death. He's a great person. Yeah, everybody sees his energy and his,
Hmm.
what he does. And he's taught me a lot. He's opened my eyes to a lot. And
Hmm.
he is the one that actually got me to share my story. And, I would have never in a million years told my story. And,
Hmm.
look, and we say all the time, if we don't tell our story, it's selfish. We
Right.
believe it's selfish because you could be helping so many people like you are. Look what you're doing from, coming out and sharing what you went through and so many other women. So when I finally decided to do that, number one, it was like therapy. It was like therapy to
Right.
just get that out, share it. And also, I was holding a 30-year secret. Never told
Yeah.
anyone until I connected with Emilio about a
Hmm.
sexual trauma that I had gone through when I was 19.
Hmm.
So again, like this is why I believe like he was put in my life for a reason. Had I not connected with him, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. I wouldn't be helping women. And we wouldn't be
Hmm.
sharing, people's stories like we are, in these books. And that's why we're doing what we're doing because we love highlighting people and we're always constantly promoting, as you can see, you know what I mean, like on our show or um, you went to our book launch. We had our book
Hmm.
launches. We give awards.
Hmm.
It's not about like it's not about money. It's not about any of that. It's just about people connecting with other people and
Right.
helping one another. That's the main point.
Absolutely.
That's what our stories do to help someone else. And when I first shared, I had women reaching out to me, sending me a message like, "Oh, you know what? Your story resonated with me," or "My daughter's going through this right now. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for." So, it confirmed right there that I did the right thing.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I tell people all the time that sharing my story, I think when I first thought of sharing my story, and this was
Mhm.
way before I started this organization, I used to
Mhm.
always think of ways like, should I write a book? Should I do some type of poetry? Like I thought of things to me that were small.
Mhm.
And you don't realize the impact until after you
Yeah.
finally do it. And
Mhm.
I absolutely thought that my story was unimportant. I thought, when they said you should do this, you should really like move forward and do something. I'm like, who's
Mhm.
going to care?
Mhm.
And then when I went to our first showing for our documentary, I stood on stage before I started speaking and they videotaped me. I ugly cried really bad. I stood up there and I ugly cried and I kept apologizing to the audience because we had this huge auditorium
Right.
and there were so many people out there.
Mhm.
And I was like, I thought like 10, 15 people would show up and we had like 300 people there for our first
What?
showing. And the support, it was difficult for my family to hear in detail what happened to me. And our documentary is pretty vivid.
I saw.
We get into it. You guys
Mhm.
went to one of the
Yeah.
showings. I forgot
Yes,
in
it was
Lancaster.
amazing.
Um,
Mhm.
and it was so difficult. And when I looked out to the crowd and I saw my mother sitting there and I saw the tears in her eyes and I started to get emotional
Mhm.
because she cried. And like you, my family had no idea. They knew that I
Yeah.
was abused, but they had no idea the depth of
The
my abuse.
extent. Yeah.
So when I sat in the crowd and I looked at my mother and I saw her crying, and my sister, whose
Mhm.
husband just finished having lung surgery and for the first
Mhm.
time in 10 months was home and she couldn't make it, but she was sitting in that crowd. And then I saw all of my aunts and my cousins. I was like, wow, I really thought no one would care. And
Mhm.
everyone is here. And then the millions of people that came up to me after, and the people that came
Mhm.
up to me in public, like, I went to your showing. I told my friend, when are you having another one? I'm dealing with domestic violence. I dealt with domestic violence. What
Mhm.
you're doing is amazing. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this really like matters to folks.
Yeah.
That is what gave us the push to say, we need to do more than just a documentary. We
Yes.
need to do something else that's going to actually, thank you so much, Melio. That is her
Yeah.
husband, by the way, folks. We need to do more than just show a movie. We really need to get
Yeah.
out there and see what we can do to forge positivity in these communities so that these women and men, because there's
Yeah.
so many men who feel like they're alone, realize that they aren't. So kudos to both of you for
Mhm.
allowing so many people to tell their story through your books. I mean, you guys, it's not one person in their book. They have 29 people, 27 people, 21 people.
Yeah.
So many people are allowed the ability to sit there and say, here's my story and I'm going to tell it.
Yep.
And you have opened the door for those people because some of those people may have never said anything about their abuse or what they went through had it not been for you and your husband. Andrew, I see you. Hello. How are you, honey? Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight.
Mhm.
Carmen, for always being here. Islia, Emilio, everyone that's on. Tisa, thank you guys, and all of the folks that
Yeah.
are watching that I cannot see. I'm going
Mhm.
to do what we normally do at the half mark. We're like a few minutes after. But just a quick reminder to folks while we are here, if you or someone that you love is dealing with domestic violence, remember to reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. That number is always scrolling across the bottom of the screen so that you can always find it when you watch. You can reach us at any of our social media platforms as well as loveshouldnothurt.com. Before we continue with the second half, I have a few questions for you because why not? We're here. You're going to express yourself. Before
Mhm.
we do that, I just want to throw up some reminders of a lot of exciting things that are going on. So before we get into what's going on, let's remind you folks so you can see it clearer the book that Daniela is referring to. Herself and her husband run the Co-Author Network. If you or someone you know has dealt with domestic violence and has a story to tell, contact them. This is the book that is now being published soon. It is called Behind Closed Doors. I Survived Domestic Violence and You Can Too. The forward is by Daniela Roman. You have her on the screen. If you guys want to be a part of those 21 people in that book, contact herself or her husband. They both have been on here. Her husband is writing comments.
Mhm.
Inbox them and let them know you want to be a part of that. Our Love Gala, da-da, October
Yay.
23rd, 2021. Super excited for our second gala. Last year, our gala celebrated all of those people who have been our support system, who have uplifted us, filled our cups, and allowed us to grow as an organization. Those who helped us put together the documentary, those who helped us put together countless hours of preparing for all of our different showings. everyone who was a support system. This year, we are highlighting survivors within our community, survivors who are doing amazing things in the community because they are not only telling their stories, but they are continuing to forge the fight that we stand together against domestic violence. We have sponsors like Islas Latin Grill. If you've been to Philadelphia, you know their food is amazing. We also have Daniela and her husband, the co-author network. We have the Gomez Law Group, who is there, as well as Concilio, and many more who are coming in every single day. We have Acerico Dance Company, who will be throwing down on the dance floor. Our boy, DJ Foley, who will be in the mix and allowing us to dance for the rest of the night once our amazing program is over. Mob Photography will be providing our photo booth. And Danny Torres from Florida will be coming down to Philadelphia to close out our program and motivate and highlight and promote all of the amazing people in the audience. It is going to be a phenomenal event. Tickets are selling, people. So please do not be left out like folks were last year, writing to me 2 hours before the event, asking me for
Oh, wow.
You will be left standing. So make sure you get your tickets. Remember, the attire this year is formal, not semi-formal. I expect to see you in your best. We also are having our Love Shouldn't Hurt 5K the following Sunday to close out the month of domestic violence. Both tickets can be purchased on El Concilio website. Whew, a mouthful.
Wow, good job.
Remind me, folks. Mary Brown, thank you for being here. Emilio Roman says, it's our honor to share their stories. Thank you. We are excited to be a sponsor of the Love Should Not Hurt Second Gala.
Yes.
Carmen Gonzalez, we love you. You are super, super supportive every week. Thank you for always being here. So you have watched some of our shows. You know what my mission is. You know what we do. Tell me, after watching some of our shows and just getting to know me, because you've only known me a couple of years, right? Since we were doing the work together. What is it that you most relate to with our organization? What is it that you want to learn from us? What is it that you want to work together with? And what is it about our shows that made you want to be on tonight? Because not everyone is brave enough to get on the screen. They get a little nervous, but you're here. So what made you fuel yourself to write to me and say, I want to be there tomorrow?
Well, honestly, I didn't know I was going to be the only one. I was like, I'm like, I'm right. I'm like that meme where like Bart Simpson's going back into the tree and I'm
to the bushes. Sometimes
like, oh, well.
there's like 4 or 5 people on. Sometimes it's one. But that's good because people get to know you and people get to know the person who is putting this book together. So you're selling yourself tonight.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, I'm happy to be here. No, well, I've from the beginning when we first met. And you remember we met in that coffee shop in South Philly?
I do.
Yeah, we met there, and just from speaking to you that day, I knew that your mission was in line with my mission, and honestly, I didn't really know that was really a big part of my mission until I started to share my story, and then met you, and I said, yeah, this is part of what I want to do. I mean, this is something that's always been in the back of my mind that I want to help young girls and then women obviously, but it's just something about the reaching young girls before they even get to that. We always want to try and save people from going through what we went through, right? Whether it's our own kids, and I'm sure you have a daughter that age,
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's scary for you, but we can't save everybody, but we can try it. We can at least try. And, from watching your shows, I see like with your cousin last week and your past guests, you're just doing like so much for the community. Like you go out and speak to kids in schools, and it's just, like I said earlier, that's something I want to learn more about to do what you're doing and reaching these young people. So yeah, I mean, I admire that. I admire everything you're doing. I know you have another job, and you do this, and you set up your gala, and so it's admirable what you're doing and keeping it all together. But yeah, that's the main thing, like helping these young girls. That's what I want to try and reach out and do more about. And like I said, and the books, like to get women to share their stories, because that's the only way that we can really help one another is by sharing our experiences.
Absolutely. I always say, well, let me say that I say it now because people have like banged it into my head. I say all the time now, and I'll tell you what I mean by that, that even if we save one person, we've done our job and we've done And I say it was banged into my head because every time, anyone that knows me knows my anxiety levels run high. When it comes to the gala, when it came
Mm-hmm.
to the 5K last year, when it
Mm-hmm.
came to all of our different documentary showings, I have
Mm-hmm.
my squad of people that are always like, relax, it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be fine. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and every single time we did our documentary showing, I'd be in the back like, oh my goodness, oh my God. And they're like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, nobody's gonna come. There's gonna be, oh my God, we put so much time into this. And they're like, Chrissy, one person could come. And if you touch that one person, you've done your job.
Right.
That's all you need to do. Touch
Right.
one person and you did what you have to. So kudos to you guys for doing what you do, because not only are you touching one, but you're touching many.
Yeah.
Let me tell you that when I sat at the book release that day, it was like a moment of awe for me. Not only because I was in the book and it was like, wow, this is so exciting, but
Mm-hmm.
just to hear the different individuals go up and say
Right.
small parts of their stories, and then to read the book and to
Yeah.
see everyone's different stories and how they've come out on top. When you have built your life always just believing that you can't overcome anything, you
Mm-hmm.
could never supersede the negativity that's in your life, and then you're around all of these amazing people who have gone through death and near death experiences and cancer and
Yeah.
depression and just so many different things. And you're like,
Yeah.
damn, I spent all of these years believing that, my story wasn't important and that I could never not be who I was back then. I could never
Mm-hmm.
get over it. And then you sit in a room with all these people and you're like, I am not alone. Like,
Right.
everyone has gone through this and we've all overcome it. So
Yeah.
I say over and over again that you guys are amazing for doing that, because again,
Thank you.
it's not just about you and Emilio, because
Yeah.
he's written 2 books. I got them the first day I met him. He was like, he got, you know what I mean? He told
They're
his
so cool.
story, but no, but that's amazing because it's
Yeah.
not just, it shows, he showed us the books. Here you go. This book is for you. Like, he handed it to us for us to read it and learn his story. But then it was
Mm-hmm.
about, I don't want to focus on me. How can I
Right.
help you guys? How can I,
Mm-hmm.
show your stories? How can I shed light on what you do? And not a lot of people do that.
No.
Like, I could easily come up on here every week and do this show all by myself, right? And make it all about Christina.
Yeah.
But would it really be substantial for people watching? Do they
No.
really want to see my face by myself every week talking about things that I may or may not know about? No.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that I'm able to forge these relationships and have people come on and tell their stories and tell, from their perspective, because I
Right.
was abused physically in a lot of different ways. And I have a story to tell, but your story is nothing like my story.
Right.
It's totally different. My cousin was on last week. Her story is totally different from my story. She was 14 years old
Yeah.
when her domestic violence started. 14. My daughter's
Mm-hmm.
14.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine my daughter being sexually and physically abused at
Mm.
14 years old.
Yeah.
So the power in our stories is exactly, you came on tonight and it was like, what are we going to talk about? And you want to be able to forge positivity in young girls. And that's what you've made your mission now. You want to go out, you want to talk to these schools, you want to uplift younger kids and kind of
Mm-hmm.
like start them before it gets to that point. But you already are uplifting so many people
Mm-hmm.
with just
Thank you.
doing what it is that you guys do. Seriously,
Mm-hmm.
like, I never in my life thought that I would really be in any book. Who thinks
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be in a book? Like, that's not something you
Yeah.
think of. And you guys were like, let's do it. You want to tell your
Mm-hmm.
story? Let's go. And that book had 29 people in it. And the other one had 27 people
26.
in it.
Yeah.
26.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so many people are able to express themselves and tell
Mm-hmm.
their story, and it's healing so many people. I
Exactly.
hear that constantly. What you do has helped me out of this. And I think that is why my mindset has shifted, why my personality has shifted in the past
Mm-hmm.
3 years. I've always been bubbly, loud, and crazy. I'm Puerto Rican. That's what we do. Emilio can attest.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
the fact that I am able to just foster positivity in people blows me away, because
Yeah.
family members can tell you how negative I was growing up.
Mm.
And they probably are blown away. Yeah, I was loud and goofy, but
Mm-hmm.
positivity,
Yeah.
not often, because my self esteem was so low. So the fact that I'm able to align this organization with my new mentality of just thinking of one positive thing and making your days positive every day and sharing my story and allowing it to build someone else up
Yeah.
is phenomenal for me. And you guys are doing the same thing. So I'm super, super grateful that you decided to be on here today. It was
Oh,
a
thank
surprise
you.
to you that you were by yourself, but that's
No,
okay.
that's fine. Yeah, no, I'm
Sometimes
like,
there's lots of us, sometimes there's a couple of us,
hmm and you
but
know what,
people are able to
Christina?
see who you are.
Thank you. What you just said, because of everything that you've been doing, and people are like, oh wow, you're inspiring, you're helping people, but um, when you said that you just up until like you were 38, you didn't really get it. You didn't have that. And you know what? I'm sure that showed. You know what I mean? Because it's like when you're promoting a product, right?
Mhm.
If I don't, if I'm promoting like say this bottle of water, but I don't even drink it and I don't like it,
Absolutely.
then why am I doing it? Like it'll show that you don't believe in it.
Hmm.
So it took you until you finally, had the self confidence and got out
Right.
of that mindset. Now people see it. You know what I mean? Now people see it because if you don't believe it, nobody else is going to believe it.
Yeah,
You have to sell
absolutely.
yourself first, right?
Yeah.
So it shows. It shows, 100% now what your mission is, that you're 100% confident, that you're a strong woman, and, this is your mission. So,
Hmm.
I just wanted you to know that, like, it will show if you're not believing in what you're doing because, you can be out there, like you were saying, you knew how to help other women, you knew what to say, but you weren't doing it for yourself,
Right.
you
And
know?
it's funny because I have friends now. Shout out to my baby mama Jessica, who we work together, and she would always tell me, she would yell at me every time I said something negative about myself, and she's like, "What is wrong with you, Vega?" They call me
Mhm.
Vega. Vega, what's
Mhm.
wrong with you? Like, why don't you see that you're beautiful? Why don't you? And I would be
Yeah.
like, "Girl, leave me alone." Like I never wanted to hear it, and now when we're around each other, she's like, "Yes, yes,
Mhm.
you finally see what we see," and I'm
Yes.
like, "All right, all right." But it's building this organization allowed me to build myself. It allowed
See?
me to show who I really was, and my
Mhm.
worth, and kind of just see, damn, all of these years I spent doubting myself and doubting who
Mhm.
I was as a person,
Right.
and I am all those great things. Some people
Yeah.
say, it's funny because some people say now, "You're so cocky now."
No,
I'm
it's
not
not
cocky in
cocky.
any
It's
way, not at
confident.
all. I'm
Mm-mm.
just confident in the fact that I know that who I am now is who I always was. And I just
Right.
allowed the negativity that was fostered in my mind to believe that
Mhm.
I was opposite of that. And I think that that's a bigger part of my mission. And that's why I do, the live sometimes. And I get on in the mornings now that I'm going
Mhm.
back to work and I'm driving. I do the morning motivation to remind people to just find one good thing. And that was my problem. I couldn't even
Mhm.
find one positive thing about myself. I would wake
Mhm.
up in the morning and there was not one thing about me that I liked. But I put
Mhm.
on a fake smile every day and I went out there and I
Yeah.
acted like everything was good. But honestly, there was never anything positive that I can find. Now, woo! Let me tell you,
Yep. Now it's
find
an
something
overflow.
positive every day.
And you know what? It's funny because you began that organization, obviously in honor of your friend, but to save other women, to help other women. But I believe that
It saved me.
this saved you. Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we are at
Hmm.
the 49 mark. We're going to do what we do. Don't get nervous. I'm leaving you all by yourself. What we do at this time is have our final thoughts, and you can share anything that you would like, whether it's something that you've seen in the past shows that you want to talk about, whether it's just tonight and how you feel about being here, anything at all that you want to speak about. Remember to highlight how folks can find you, highlight
Hmm.
your book, and everything that you want people to know about you today, Daniela. So I'm going
I'm
to leave you
gonna
by
back.
yourself.
I'm gonna back away now.
No backing away.
No, I'm
And
kidding.
then I'll be back on the screen for you.
All right, Christina. Hi, guys. And again, I'm Danielle Rahman from the Co-author Network, and I'm so happy to be here tonight. And thank you, Christina, for having me and let me share, my story and about myself and what my husband and I do. And again, we are the Co-author Network, and we help you share your story with the world. And we started with the Spiritual Fitness Survivor brand, where people are sharing all kinds of survivor stories. And Christina Vega, being in second edition, chapter one, shared her amazing story, about domestic violence and how she overcame that, and look where she is now. So my husband and I were, very passionate about behind closed doors. I survived domestic violence, and you can too. We felt that it needed its own book because there's so many women out there that are ready to share their stories. And, you know, the only way we can help one another is by sharing our story. And, like I said earlier, if we don't share our story, I believe we're being selfish, because what does it do for us to keep it to ourselves? And on the back of this book, Spiritual Fitness Survivor, it says, I'm not sure if you can see that, we cannot heal in secret, right? So we can hold it in. We can hold in the anger and the resentment and everything that we went through over the years, and just bottle it up and push it down and not deal with it, not share it. And who suffers? Not that other person, only you. We suffer, right? So by releasing all that, like I did, like Emilio did with his story, like Christina did, and so many others in these three books that we've done, it has helped them to heal and to move on with their lives and help other people with their story and their experiences. So guys, again, behind closed doors, um, there's you know the importance of sharing this. Like I said, get your story out there, get your message out there in order to help other people. And you can reach out to me. You can even reach out to Christina. If you're a friend of Christina, reach out to her, and she will put you in contact with myself or Emilio, and we will guide you through it. A lot of people are afraid, I don't know how to write, or I don't even know where to start. Well, that's what we're here for. So we will help you get your story out there. And Christina, thank you so much again. We're looking forward to your Love Gala. That Amelia and I are one of the sponsors, and we're excited because your mission is, like I said, is in line with our mission, and we believe in everything you're doing. And thank you again for having me.
Look at that. That wasn't too hard.
Thank you.
I'm going to send you to the back and I'll bring you back so we can say goodbye. So, folks, sorry for the glare today. I didn't have time to take my glasses off, got home from work, picking my daughter up from soccer. But this is what happens when you're live. So you have my glare tonight. See my eyes? Anyway, so every time we do these shows, Express Yourself, we have different people on. We're never sure what the topic will be around. We're never sure what they're going to talk about. But I think that we always get something from those topics because our audience members are who foster these conversations. When we have guests on, they have different audience members who are communicating with them and writing different things. And many times we take those conversations and comments and we say, we should do a show on that. So we always think that it's important to have different people come on to kind of just guide the show wherever it may go. So tonight was super laid back. Daniela was an amazing guest. She talked to us about her book, about the company that her and her husband run, and a little bit about her story of survival and what it is that she wants to do. I think that in everything that she said, the one thing that I think stood out to me the most was that our stories are what help others, and we're selfish if we keep them to ourselves. And I think I learned that the hard way. I didn't want to share my story. I didn't want to tell my story because for years I thought that it wasn't important. I thought that what I went through was just a part of what people go through, right? Because we live in societies where, if you're a minority, a lot of Hispanic parents say to you, lo que pasa en la casa, se queda en la casa. Hey, there's my cousin, Jorge Baje, straight from Puerto Rico. Jorge, primo, te veo. I had to give him a shout out because I haven't seen him on here. But we think many times that what we go through is super non-important and that what we go through is just something that we have to deal with and leave it in the dark. I hope that you take from myself every week and you take from our different guests that what you go through, you grow through. And what makes you grow makes you such a better person. I'm telling you that people are always asking me, am I ashamed? Absolutely not. If I was ashamed of my story, I wouldn't tell it. But I am not ashamed because I tell people all the time that my biggest blessing came from my abuse. And I have a beautiful daughter out of that relationship who is probably one of my best friends. She's a phenomenal young lady, and watching her grow has been the best part of my life. I don't even remember life before her. So we go through these troublesome times, we go through terrible times, but it allows us to grow. It builds us. At 38 years old was the first time I was able to say I actually loved myself. It sounds crazy. It sounds nuts if you've known me forever because you think this woman who's always laughing and joking and funny and doing what she does. Yes, absolutely. At 38 years old, I probably said I love myself and meant it for the first time in my entire life. And that should say a lot to you people because I will be 41 in 2 months. I don't want to say that, but I am. So it tells my story. My abuse not only followed me through that time in my life, but it followed me into every single relationship after. It continued to allow me to believe that I was not worth it, I was not beautiful, and nobody valued me as a person. And more than anything, I didn't love me for me, because before you love anyone, you should love yourself. And I absolutely did not love myself. I can say now that almost at 41, I'm going to whisper. I don't want you to remember that too much. I finally love who I am. I know my worth, and I know that the person who marries me is going to be amazing because I'm amazing. I'm being goofy, but I'm just saying all of that to say it may take some time if you are dealing with some form of domestic violence or abuse or just anything that is not making you love yourself. But when you finally find your true self and you find the love that you need within yourself, you will find the best part of you. So I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's conversation. The next time I put out that invitation, folks, no tengas miedo. Take that invitation, send me that email address, and be on the screen with me and express your thoughts. I'm going to bring him. I was going to call you Emilio. See, you guys are like the same person. I'm going to bring Daniela back so we can say goodnight, and I will see you guys next week where we talk about signs of domestic violence in the workplace next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Daniela, thank you for being
Yeah.
here tonight, for being a
Thank
part of our
you.
show. I hope you had fun with my
Oh, I
loud and
did.
crazy self.
No, you were great. Thank you,
I
Christina.
look forward to seeing you guys at my gala. Thank you so much
Yes.
for being one of our sponsors. Have a good night. Have a good night, everyone. We will see
Love
you
you.
next week. Domestic violence in the workplace. See you guys.